So I made a clothing collection. I hope you liked watching 89, my clothing collection. It is an homage to my parents. So now I'm going to just talk a little bit about why I did this, my process, inspiration, and just go through the looks. So to start, I've always had this idea of creating a clothing collection and showcasing it in some way, and then following up with videos that correspond to each look that kind of go through how I made them, how you could make them, all this stuff. And like I've had this idea for a lot of years. I've had it since high school because I don't know if I've ever said this. I actually wanted to start social media and start posting on YouTube in high school. And I made a video and I filmed it. And I'd love to find that footage one day if I can. And I never posted it because I was scared. And so I did end up like actually start posting in college, but I've had this idea since then. And a few months ago, I I love posting and I love making stuff for social media, but when I do stuff throughout the year, sometimes the pieces feel a little disconnected and then it feels like, oh, I feel like I have gaps in my wardrobe and I want to address that, but then also I'm like, oh, but I want to do something for Halloween or I want to do something for this. And so I had this idea of like, I kind of had the idea of like, what if you did the collection? Um, and that could just be a fun way to try to be creative and try to make stuff that you felt like would fit in your wardrobe and all this stuff. So I decided to use my break that I take after SOMAS for this. So when I started planning it, I actually read a book that I have here. I found at Barnes and Noble, like right as I was like starting to plan this, called Fashion Design Course by Stephen Ferrum. I'm really bad at pronunciation, but it's pretty much just a book that kind of goes into fashion design and creating collections. And especially since I did not go to school for sewing or fashion, I went to school for computer science. I don't have, like, there's a lot of knowledge that I don't have, and I've been trying to, try to fill in those gaps in certain ways. So I feel like this book was really helpful in just kind of understanding more of what goes into a collection. How do you kind of try to keep it cohesive, or like just thinking about keeping it cohesive, thinking about your theme, referencing back to your theme, all of this stuff. And it also gave some ideas for like how to start the design process. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I wanted, since this is the first time I've done a collection and the first time I would be showcasing something like this in a way, I was like, I wanted it to be something that felt true to myself. And so one of my ideas was maybe doing something inspired by the year 1999, which I felt like was just really broad. And so then I thought about my parents and what if I could do something that's a little bit of an homage to them? They've always been really supportive, and they're very supportive of me posting online, and I learned to sew from my mom. And I feel like also I kind of learned to draft my own patterns, not directly from my mom. My mom is very big on, well, she was very big on using patterns when I was younger, when I first started sewing, and I was very like, I don't want to use a pattern. And so then because of that and like going against the grain, that's how I kind of started to figure out like how can I draft my own pattern, copy my clothes, see things, and that spiraled from there. And I do use patterns now sometimes, but that kind of, I guess, being rebellious is what got me to be more into sewing in that way. But she's the person who taught me. And when I took my sewing machine, well, we had a family sewing machine that she let me bring to school so I could sew it while I was in college and start posting. So I thought it'd be nice to do something that was an homage to my parents for my first time doing something like this. So where I started is I made like a word mind map. I was talking to my parents one night. They will be finding out as they watch this video that this is what this collection is about. They know I'm doing it, but they don't know. I don't know if they've guessed, but surprise if they didn't guess. But anyways, I was talking to my parents, and one thing that I do know that I've always known is that they met at a nightclub, and it's always kind of, it was really funny in college because sometimes when I would go to parties, I felt like, oh, I have to go because what if I meet my husband? And then I'd tell myself, like, no one meets their husband at a party. And I'm like, my parents did. They went to a club. But that's, they met a club, met, they met at a club, and I'd asked if they remembered what they were wearing. And my mom said she was wearing a form-fitted dress that was above the knee, black and white knit, and my dad was wearing black shorts and a white shirt. So I knew that I wanted something that was in reference to both of those. And then I just asked them a little bit more about like their jobs at the time, things that they did. And so the second thing that I took inspiration from was their jobs. My mom worked in finance at AT&T, and my dad worked at a chemical company. And just I also asked them about like different things that they did, like they go to the movies, they go to the park, all this stuff. And so I just took a lot of notes of different things, and then kind of from there, things I wanted to expand upon. So like, you know, this is what they were wearing at the club. Also, what does, not like what does one wear, but like what does one wear at a club and functionality for that. What are other things? And then I made a little bit of a mood board. So a I got a subliminal printer. It's the Canon Selphy, I think 1500, and I didn't realize before this just like how important a mood board is, because it's just like really important to see like what is your theme, what are things that you like, tie everything together. So I made a little mood board with some pictures of my parents when they were younger. They got married at around my age, so some of these are them around my age, which feels a little nostalgic. So at the center, I have a picture that's of my mom and my dad, and then I have just some other pictures of them, individual pictures, a picture of my mom when she was at work, a picture of her with her sister. I liked that one because I liked the jewelry, just in case if I wanted to like reference that with anything with styling. So yeah, just different pictures of them as inspiration. Also, the picture in front of, that was her second car, and she made the cape that she was wearing, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. So from there, I started with doing some very rough sketches just to get an idea of like, just trying to have ideas and iterate on them. So the first one I started with was my mom's, the outfit that would be in reference to her at the club, which is pretty much the whole first page, which just different versions of that. I felt like I didn't need to take as much time as I got to the other ones, because I felt like I'd kind of have an idea of like, oh, I kind of like this thing, okay, let's sketch it. Where this was like a lot of like in the moment, okay, I'm sketching this. And so just the different iterations, I wanted something, I wanted something that was strapless. I wanted the fabric to be black, but I wanted to incorporate white in some way. But I also wanted something that would have movement, that if you were dancing, it would be fun to look at, or just, you know, be something that's enjoyable. So that's where I started with having the hearts, but then just moving across, like, what would I want to like design, and then what would I also think that she would have liked. And that's how I ended up with the strapless top with the skirt. And then from there, I had my dad's club outfit, which I felt like was a little more simple, of just, you know, when I think of guys at parties or at clubs, and it's like a more like laid back, you know, here I'm like cool, chill type of way. So then like that's where I went into the idea of just a fitted shirt with maybe kind of like an interesting like wavy aspect at the short. And then I went to my mom's work idea, which I just thought of something that's like kind of simple but just sophisticated. And then I had my dad's, where I wanted to incorporate a jacket as kind of a callback to him working at chemical company wearing a lab coat. So then that leads into, I did more detailed sketches where I also did, if needed, I tried to do some sketches of individual elements that stood out. So I have my mom's look, where I had the strapless top with a ruffle and the skirt, and then what that actually translated into was a strapless top that I actually did no zipper, because my fabric had stretch. I didn't feel like I needed one, but I did an asymmetrical ruffle using square ruffles, where I did multiple of those, because I don't know, I feel like my mom kind of likes asymmetrical things sometimes, so I thought that that would be interesting. And then laying that over a skirt where it could in a way be one piece, but it is two separate pieces. And I did a circle skirt, because circle skirts give a lot of movement, but I made the waistband bigger, that I took it in with a sheared, or I did a circle skirt where the waistband was smaller through shearing, so that way it could give even more like flow and flounce. For my mom's work outfit, so for the top, I liked the idea of doing this tie, but I actually, for the fabric that I used for hers, I didn't have, like for that top, I didn't have enough of it, so I did a dolman, because that's where you kind of like add the sleeve in the shirt, like in the bodice pattern, instead of having a separate sleeve, because I felt like that would use less fabric, which then I also iterated on in throughout the collection. But I was going to do a tie, and I just didn't really love how the top looked. I felt like there was just too much, like the pattern just felt like it was a little bit much, so that's why I ended up going with a V and just doing a ruffle and doing that same multiple square ruffle like I did in the club top. And then for the pants, a mistake was made where the fabric was not strong enough to hold the shape, like that crinkle shape, and then they were just so big that it looked, oh, and they were low, that I ended up adding a panel and adding elastic there, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So I liked that, how it turned out, that I wanted to try to do that in other things. And for my dad's top, I originally had a turtleneck with these like crinkle shorts and a white belt. I didn't do the turtleneck because the fabric that I used, it was a cotton that didn't have stretch, so I needed a way to get it on, and the original neckline that I had, I just didn't love. And then I used shearing to make it a little more fitted in some ways. And then the shorts were inspired by my mom's work outfit, which I had messed up in some ways, but then I kind of iterated on that and I incorporated that into other designs. So I did kind of this double waistband to give even more just like interest there. And then I did not use a belt because I felt like it would have taken away from the double waistband. And then for my dad's work top, I had originally planned on doing this like patchworked out of the same fabric top, but the fabric that I decided I was going to use, I just felt like it wouldn't have, I don't think you really would have gotten the effect in the way that I would have wanted to. So I just ended up doing a top where I gathered the bodice and connected it to a band and then just did a sleeve. For the pants, I iterated on doing what I did for my mom's work top and my dad's club top, and did that double waistband again because I kind of liked how that looked, so I just wanted to see what that. And then for the jacket, instead of doing adjustable sleeves, I just did a dolman as a jacket, which I thought was interesting. And I ended up taking off some of the lapels because just with how the fabric I ended up using sat, I didn't feel like I needed it, but I feel like it actually really tied the look together, and especially with what I was referencing. So all in all, I learned a lot. It was a time, it was definitely a time, but I feel like I learned so much about fashion design, but construction and good construction, and just also kind of what it means to like take an idea, sometimes make mistakes, play around with it. I also used Illustrator some, which I would love to use more in the future. I used my half scale dress form. I padded that to my measurements to be able to use it and then take patterns into Illustrator. So I learned a lot, and I definitely would love to do this again and just kind of see where this could go. And I'm really proud of how everything turned out. There's definitely things that, like, different fixes that I could have made, but just to make sometimes like some of the construction a little better, but I just feel like I learned so much, and that there's so much that I will be using as I go forward with sewing. And yeah, I just can't wait to maybe just refine my design process in general, whether it's for a single project or doing something like this again, or just learning more about fashion, about design, about what goes into other people's collections, to kind of take that with me. So I hope that y'all enjoyed my first collection, 89, and let me know if you liked it. Let me know what your favorite look is, and stay tuned because the next videos will be me making each look and just the process that went into that, some of the trial and errors and different things. So yeah, if you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow me on my social medias, and until next time, bye guys.